Doctor, are you living the dream or just dreaming of living? It is my honor to announce the PDA 20th Anniversary Special Conference this September 12th to the 14th in Frisco, Texas, the nation's leading course on dental practice growth. If you feel isolated as a leader who is frustrated that your schedule is unproductive, maybe your team is disjointed, or your systems are inefficient, this is the conference for you. The PDA 20th Anniversary Conference has all new features, including keynote speaker Emmitt Smith, who is a Pro Football Hall of Fame running back and entrepreneur. You can choose your own educational track to customize your learning experience. Go to www.productivedentist.com and click the pop-up, or select Productive Dentist Academy Conference under the Dental CE and Events tab. That's www.productivedentist.com. Seating is limited. Register today, and we look forward to helping you make your dreams become reality.
What we do a lot of times is take some lengthy pieces of like research or white papers that companies provide, and we shorten them into a little quick hitting thing with information that, we know the doctor's not going to read maybe necessarily a 12-page white paper on how this certain type of, x-ray machine works, but they'll want to know, a little bit about that if it indeed will help them with their diagnosis and their efficiency and their speed and their time.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Regan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in.
Well, if you're like me, the presidential debate last night made my eyes roll. Did it feel to you like the candidates were just pointing out each other's candidates' flaws? A lot of news today can feel like nothing but gloom and doom, and it's polarizing. It's frustrating. Where can you go, dentists, for the dental industry news that is real and future-facing? Because despite what it may seem right now in the world and the media, dentistry itself has a bright future. Dr. Chad Johnson and I are honored to bring Stan Goff on the show today. He is the managing editor for Dental Products Report, Dental Practice Management, Dental Lab Products, Modern Hygienist, and Dentist Money Digest. You get my drift? He has covered the dental industry since 1999, and his journalism media goes back farther than that. Chad, are you excited about our guest today?
I am excited. I've not met you until today, and I'm excited to get to know you better, Stan. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to this and some future PDA events that we have down the road as well.
Yeah, I just learned this morning, for the listeners' sake, that you're in the Chicagoland area, and even though you're big city, I'm Midwest with you, and so we're bound to hit it off. So we just have to.
Sounds good. I think we're hitting it off already.
That's right.
Fun Chicago fact. I've only been there once, and I cannot eat any grains of any kind. And I need to plug the restaurant. I don't remember. I will text Dr. Maggie Augustine and ask her. A restaurant made me a pizza with an all meat crust.
Oh, very cool.
And it was delicious.
Wow. See, I've heard of the cauliflower crust and some of the healthy variations, but an all meat crust. Wow.
I'm picturing pepperoni a little overburned, and I'm loving it. Yeah.
Now, you have the meat crust. Did they put meat on top of it then?
Of course they did.
Yeah. And for listeners' sake, I mean, this is just silly foo-foo beginning talk from me. I apologize, but adding to the restaurants, downtown Chicago, Bandera's restaurants on the second floor on the Michigan Avenue, on the east side of the street. Super good food, live band and stuff like that. Bandera's. And I don't know if Antonio Banderas is the one who started it, but that's how you can remember it. Banderas. Give it a try.
So Stan, you and I share a great connection, and that is cutting our teeth in journalism at a small weekly paper or multi-weekly paper or daily paper, however you want to say it. I went the design route, you went the journalism route. And I'm really curious. I would love a little bit about your background, and specifically what prompted you to shift from mainstream journalism into dental media?
Boy, well, yeah, I did. I did work for newspapers for about 15 years in the suburbs of Chicago. Some at times it was 2, 3 times a week. At times it was part of a group that had daily papers. Um, and I started out in news, and then I did some sports because I'm a big sports nut. So that was part of why I liked that a lot. Along the way, to be honest, when I started, and I think I'm a little older than some of the other journalists or some of my coworkers, I didn't know a whole lot about B2B magazines for any trades. I didn't realize they have them for everything. I mean, some friends of mine had left the newspaper business for a variety of reasons. Some of them wanted different hours. Some of them wanted to try something different. And so I had some friends that were working for Dental Policy Board. I'm like, dentists get their own magazine. Turns out they get a whole bunch.
Multiple. Yeah.
More than they probably have time to read all the time. And part of it is that my children were a little bit younger at that time, and my son was just starting to play Little League and Pee Wee football, and in the newspaper, I was working like 6 days a week, really long hours. And I'm like, you know what? I wanted to give something different a try. And so I started at DPR in 1999, not knowing a whole lot about B2B magazines in general and the dental industry. And boy, it was a wake up call, but it was a fun wake up call. I mean, just right up to bed, going to like dental conventions and sitting through some lectures, just talking to some company product managers and trade shows. And the first time I walked into like Chicago Midwinter or Greater New York.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, there's a whole lot of people here with a whole lot of information, and it kind of took me by surprise, and I've been enjoying it ever since.
Stan, have you noticed from 99, I finished dental school in 05, so same time period, at least at this point, how much conferences, trade shows, stuff like that have changed over the last 20 years that I've noticed, like at the beginning of my career, when I would go to my first year out of school, it was August of 05. I went to the AGD national convention, whatever they call that, the scientific something or another. Yeah. But in DC, and it was huge. And, but now it's no knock on them. I think it's just that things have changed. The internet has changed it as well, but that the trade show floors aren't as big.
Right.
And yeah, just the attendance. I went to Hawaii, like the 09 Hawaii ADA, it had 25,000 attendees. 25,000 attendees. I mean, so like, what's your thoughts on, like, do you notice that trend as well?
You're not surprising anybody with what you're saying. I mean, It has changed a lot, and I think the internet does have a lot to do with it because there are, it's so easy to access continuing education. You can go to a webinar, do a CE course online.
Yep.
And so for the trade shows for a number of years, a big part of it was the education. It's still there. I mean, you could go to Chicago Midwinter and you're going to see some of the best lecturers and you're going to have some of the best topics, but you can also get a lot of that online or, on a weekend course with, some academy.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit, and then the purchasing of products. I mean, you used to have to kind of go to the trade shows to see, and it's still, I mean, I'm not trying to knock any of the trade shows.
You can still, right.
It's still, you still want to go there and see some hands-on demos and someone wants to hand you a laser, you get the feel of it, or a handpiece, or try something out. I mean,
the consumer now is less skeptical of an online purchase than, for example, if I would have seen it online in 05, then later on, I'd be like, well, but if I go to Chicago Midwinter, then I'm going to be able to see it. So I'll just wait out and they might give me 20% off.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got.
You're not going to. You weren't going to buy a loop 20 years ago online and not know how it looked or felt or
Yeah.
So it's changed a lot. So and I certainly am not here to knock any. But like for instance, the ADA's had it's a wonderful organization. They do a lot of wonderful things. Some of their recent shows, I mean, we'd be lying if we didn't say that it appears attendance is a little bit down.
Right.
I think some of the things have bumped up since COVID, which is a good thing, but like you said, it's changed. Everything's the way you get your information has changed.
Right.
Well, speaking of that and everything that's online right now, what criteria do you think dentists should use to identify reliable and credible news sources right now?
Mhm.
That's I'll give my little 2 cents, and then and then we'll let the doctors, give it. But yeah, so the key word there is credible, because if you're looking, say, we're product focused with Dental Products Report.
Mhm.
If you're looking specifically for new product information, these companies will put a press release out when they launch a product, and a lot of times it'll have a lot of fluffy, flowery stuff. This is the fastest ever. This is the best ever. Certainly, when it comes to things like dental materials, I mean, you have to, if you're putting that in a patient's mouth, you have to trust the material. You have to, know how to use it properly. You have to trust the information you're receiving. So, and like I said, they'll put, it's regular, common to put out a press release saying, "Hey, we have this wonderful new product," and they'll list all these wonderful things about it. But what we try to do at Dental Products Report is, we'll have someone on our board, an actual clinician, will give us a lot more in-depth information on a product. And we also we rewrite these press releases, so it doesn't just say, "Here's a product launched today, it's the best ever." We're not going to, but we'll, at the same time, we've put stuff on our website every day, and a lot of it's short and quick and sweet.
Mhm.
So we don't have the chance to try things out, and certainly not me, since I'm not a dentist. But we try to provide the best possible information, and then follow up with more detailed pieces where, somebody on one of our editorial advisory board, or the Catapult group we work with a lot, or some dentists that are regular contributors will try out a product and either do a video with us, or just give us their take on it. So I mean, I don't think any dentist needs to be informed that just because someone says the latest material or the latest handpiece is the best ever, that it is. But there have been some really nice advancements, and so there are products you're using today that are much better than the ones you might have been using 10 years ago. So it's good to stay informed, and if you can get that trustworthy information, try out a new product, check with a colleague, try it. That's where some of those hands-on, in-person courses can really benefit you.
Well, directly from the company that there are times when the press release is fancy marketing,
Mhm.
where at the end, as a dentist, I go, "Oh, what is it?" So they'll be like, "Introducing Dentuoso. It's the virtuoso of all dental." And it's like, yeah. Okay, so one of your first jobs would be to dig in and be like, "Okay, that's really fancy. Like, like we're gonna pull up the curtain and show you next
Right.
month." And it's like, yeah, okay, what is it?
Right. What
Yeah,
are you trying to? What really are you
what
saying
is
here?
it?
And what are the benefits? I mean, are there really? In a lot of cases, there are benefits. If there's a new material that but there have been technologies in the past, 20 years ago, that made some,
Oh, for example, let's go back 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years. Perio chip and stuff that you would put in the pockets.
yeah,
And then, I actually pulled out, you'll be shocked. I pulled out the
the little information, the little
info
The
insert,
insert.
yeah. And, and I was reading that, and it's like, this will improve pockets by 0.5 millimeters. And I was like, okay, so you can say that it improved it, but like, that's it. That's
yeah.
and I was like, at first I was shocked and thinking, what's that matter? And then after a while, people were like, I don't know if it really matters. And I was like, that was what I wondered the whole time. I just wondered if other people were thinking the same thing as me. I went off on a tangent there. Regan, you had an idea?
You just said what I was thinking.
No kidding?
Yes, you absolutely said it, because when I hear best of, so as a marketer, as a lifelong marketer, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I'm not trying to bring the presidential debate up. I know I kicked off with it, but when you hear things like best ever, it is a broad term. And how do you define that term? And what is so amazing to me, Stan, is that you have a clinical advisory board or staff, people that are there that can quantify what that means. And Chad, to your point, how much is it really? I think what the dental industry deserves is actual proof, actual details, so that they can make an informed decision. And when I looked, when I read through Dental Products Report, you in particular marry some pretty fun things. Like, how to bring the fun, I think, into it, in addition to information. So what was the headline? Fruit roll-ups may be hard on teeth, but can help with dental x-ray quality. Right? Would you not click on that chat and think about that?
Oh, right.
Who would have thought? Because my thought is, boy, that's one of the worst things a dentist wants to see someone chewing on all the time. Wait a minute, now it's helping with x-rays.
Yeah. But then, since I'm not a dentist, you can go, there was another one that I pulled here. Shofu Dental unveils Beauty Bond Extreme Universal Bonding Agent featuring quad adhesive technology. I would read that one too, because it doesn't say best ever bonding agent. Right. It says quad adhesive technology. What is that? Right. And so Chad is very famous. He said in one podcast eons ago, is it, if I'm turning on a light or something, it was like, I think it was maybe to harden resin or something. Do I count up to 3? Is it right at 3? Is it 3 and hold? And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the engineering brain of the dental community.
Yeah. So Stan, I'll re-explain that, Regan. For the curing light, it'll say cure for 15 seconds. And then I've heard people dog on dentists. Dentists don't read the instructions. They just want it simplified. And that's true. We want predictable, and which is why we're reluctant to buy new products. Because we've got a recipe. It'd be like Coca-Cola being like, we're thinking about changing the recipe. It's like, you saw the 80s, right? Don't do that. And so we also don't want to change our recipe. But if it says cure for 15 seconds, the implication though is 15 seconds or more, or up to 15 seconds. And so now I wanted them to get more specific when they say, take the bonding agent and apply it for 20 seconds, apply vigorously for 20 seconds or more, or up to 20 seconds. Like, will the tooth need root canal treatment if I do 21 seconds? Or
those are very important questions.
Yes, but they oversimplify the directions. And then the funny thing is, then they blame it back on the dentist. So the engineers don't hear like my point in that it's actually, I want more detailed. Even you've dialed it down to this little card saying, apply it to the tooth, to the enamel, to the dentin as long as the enamel, to the, like, what's going on with this? I actually want some follow-up qualifying questions. Do you get what I'm saying, Stan? It's like,
Exactly. That's why some of our more popular articles for 25 years now in DPR have been these case studies, because it's kind of like a how-to where a clinician will use a product or multiple products, and they explain it. It's like, hey, 15 seconds here, boom, do this next, this next, apply this, don't skip this, and
lay it plain. They're
using it and it's working for them, and they're letting you know how to use it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Academia would poo-poo that at times, because it's like, well, this isn't 20,000 people. And it's just like, listen, I think there's a time and place for that, but there's also a time and place when it just needs to be dialed back into simplicity,
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes someone puts out a good product, material, whatever, and it's not being used the right way. And it's not working.
I'll give you an example. Lava Ultimate for CEREC users got destroyed. I still use Lava Ultimate. And you know what's funny is so many people were like, this stuff breaks all the time. And I'm like, I don't have those issues. And then people are like, well, but like it's no good. I hear plenty of people getting debonds, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of actually if I've ever had a Lava Ultimate
happened to me.
debond. But yes, exactly. And so you're not wrong. Like if it's not working for you, find something that does. But then to say that it's the product, I'm like, actually, I'm like, my son has 4 onlays of Lava Ultimate because he was 6 going on to 7. And he had some, demineralized molars. So I covered them over with that, just hoping that it would, and they hadn't fully erupted. I was trying to pretend to be this general dentist, pediatric dentist that's, doing this fix to help solve the problem. And of which was when he'd bite into food, it was temperature sensitive and stuff. So I'm just thinking, okay, wouldn't it be my child that has this? So I solved the problem. And he is 8 or 9 years later now, and those have not debonded on first molars. So it's just an example. It's a silly example where it's just like, no, there's some products where it's not the product. It could be, but we hate to say it could be the user.
Some are very technique sensitive, and if you're not doing it, using it the right way, or doing the right things with it, you skip a step, and you got a patient who's got all kinds of problems here.
Yes. Yep.
So this is an area where I am completely 100% out of my element. I got the gist of it, Chad. I figured it out. But when you said the product name, I was like, I have no idea where we're going with this conversation. So
Yes.
Stan and Chad, thinking about materials and technology and all the advancements that are happening,
Yeah.
it seems like in real time right now, and it tends to be geared around enhancing that patient comfort and success. What breakthroughs do you kind of see, Stan, like on the horizon, or trends that you're noticing?
Hmm.
If you're just talking materials, and that's, I shouldn't say just, because there are so many, and Chad kind of insinuated too, if you're a clinician and you have a material that's working for you and it's worked for you for a long time, it's hard to get, you don't want to change, and a lot of times you probably don't need to. So, but I think some of these advancements recently, like with Tokuyama and Omnichroma and some of these some of these great aesthetic improvements, and some of these universal composite is a term that was thrown around for a long time. I believe there's been some really nice strides with companies making products that are
achromatic. Yeah.
Yes.
Achromatic colorism. I love it.
Yes.
Yep.
So it makes their, I guess, their inventory easier, their decisions easier. The patients end up with better, end results. So, and
staying along that, I've told Regan before, Newton Fall, the Brazilian guy that comes up to Minneapolis and stuff sometimes and whatnot. He was working with Tokuyama to develop, not the Omnichroma. It was a predecessor to that. And I saw it at the AACD. It's Estelite Omega.
Okay,
and
yeah,
for aesthetics, it has a dentin and enamel, and then basically just A1, A2, A3, on the dentin and the enamel. And there's a few others, but I'm amazed how well that works. And because it's the opacity factor, but it's really cool that Newton Fall is that he worked hand in hand with the company. And at first I was a skeptic, but I went to the class and I was like, this material is so smooth to use. It's just an example where, the newer materials, achromatics, for example, is just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. And I don't want to just single out Tokuyama, because Vocal's
no, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot. Vocal's got some amazing products. I have a car. Yep. I mean, there are trusted companies. I think it's probably difficult for some of the, I shouldn't say smaller or newer, but I mean, there's some really big, powerful companies that put out great products, but there are a lot of smaller companies doing the same. And I've always wondered, like, from a dentist standpoint, is just how do you stay on top of all these new materials? Because that's one of the things we get asked a lot, or I ask doctors a lot. It's like, man, you've got this and this and this that you've always used, and they're working pretty darn well. Why would you try a new one, or should you try a new one, or should you believe some of these newer promises? And in a lot of cases, there have been some pretty nice advancements.
So the three likely reasons that I can come up with real quick is that trifecta of time, cost, and quality. It's kind of like the three of the, you can accept two of these, but not all three kind of thing. But if we are going to improve quality or cost and or the time factor, if it cuts the procedure by 5 minutes, then any of those kind of ideas would be worth addressing. And so that's kind of probably what your bottom line would come to as far as for a product is, quality, time, quality, time, and cost.
I have two more.
Every dentist is, I was going to say, every dentist is going to say they want to provide the best care for their patients, which I believe they do.
Yes.
But if they also have a product that's saving them a little bit of time, saving them a little bit of cost, and it's giving great results, I mean,
that's right.
Trifecta.
That's right. Regan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to add, well, it's not two. I would add the word proven quality. I think that is what I'm hearing, Stan speak to, also having the clinicians try things out before, it's released into the news, and get those details down. And then ability. So you've just taught me too, the ability to be able to apply that new material or work with that new material is also paramount to that. I think you both just explained to me. So I'm going to summarize here. In the achromatic and opacity elements of some of these materials, so let me give you an example. Sometimes I'll see people with a mouthful of beautiful veneers, and they are, there's not a lot of, like, I don't know how to say it, depth to them. It feels like a solid wall of white.
Yeah.
And there's
Ross
not a lot of
on
shadows.
Friends.
Yes.
When he got his veneers done, and
okay, right. Yeah. The Ross on Friends. So Dr. Wade Kiefer, who is our PDA faculty member. He'll be with us in PDA in September. He's been on our podcast, Coist Learning Center, this course facilitator, all the great. When he posts on Facebook, the smiles that he does, I swear to you, like a piece of art, I lean into that image and I stare at it. It looks so real. It is real teeth as far as I'm concerned. Do these materials that you're talking about help with that? When you're talking opacity and achromatic, is that the shading and the coloring? Am I understanding you well?
With proper training and use, yes, exactly.
It's insane.
Just as much as saying, can a race car get you there faster? It's like, with the proper driver, yes.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. So what topics right now, Stan, do you see are like hot button items coming up and you think people are going to focus on in 2025?
Yeah, we were talking about materials, but are there bigger ideas?
Well, you can't get enough 3D printing,
right?
And how it either relates to clear aligners or just clear aligners as a whole. I mean, clear aligners, everybody, now everyone's offering them, and a lot of dental practices can use a 3D printer to do a lot of things quickly in their office that they used to send to a lab. So I think, the whole lab industry has had to shift a lot, to digital workflows and
design.
Design and 3D printing. And so 3D printing is a huge thing. Not to sound like the biggest phrase of the day is AI, but there's AI capabilities that can help. I don't, it's AI is not doing the dentistry just yet, but just helping with organizing and patient scheduling and front office stuff. AI can help.
Diagnostics.
Yep.
Right.
Then that was the next step. It is there with the diagnostics, and there's some companies getting really close to having 3D diagnostics as well. But right now it can really help give you, and one of the brands, I think, or one of the brand names is Second Opinion, I think Pearl, but it gives you that second opinion. We're not telling the doctors that, hey, you don't have to look at the x-ray. This, AI is doing all of it, but if a doctor's looking at a bunch of x-rays and uses the software with the AI, it points things out a little clearer. Sometimes also offers a second opinion where you're not sure on something, or you maybe didn't catch something. And so AI is huge. 3D is huge. Material advancements, like remineralization with materials to help, there's just again, when I started this, I didn't realize, I thought, I didn't even know what a dental lab was. I thought you went to the dentist, you cleaned your teeth, you pulled a tooth, you filled a filling, and that was it, and then there's a whole lot of artistry and a whole lot of materials and a whole lot of, a whole lot of equipment and instruments needed by a dentist in order to perform. It's kind of an exciting area that you just don't, unless you're into it, you don't really think about it.
Okay, Chad, you mentioned the time component of it, and I know from me personally, like how I consume news has also changed, and I am, embarrassingly yet like unabashedly proud to say I am a TikTok consumer. It has improved my life. I have gotten really good tips on it, and I end up getting some news on TikTok. So that is a platform I have switched to. What are you seeing, Stan? And what are you talking about kind of behind closed doors about how consumer behavior is shifting? And what are you anticipating with how dentists receive their news?
Gotcha. Yeah. You know what? Everyone's busy. Everybody wants to learn all the time, or when they have time, and it has changed. We've changed with Dental Products Report just in the way we deliver the information. When I started many years ago, it was the website was like a new thing. We were like, what is email? How do we share these? And we used to get, companies would mail us photos of their case studies, and we would have a designer and put these together, and then obviously everything's changed with technology and the way people get their information, and a lot of it is now you almost need it to be quick and hard hitting and fast, and so what we do a lot of times is take some lengthy pieces of like research or white papers that companies provide, and we shorten them into a little quick hitting thing with information that we know the doctor's not going to read maybe necessarily a 12-page white paper on how this certain type of x-ray machine works, but but they'll want to know a little bit about that if it indeed will help them with their diagnosis and their efficiency and their speed and their time. And so, and then also a lot of the types of articles that we used to, put in the magazine 10 years ago, and then, down the road, stick it somewhere on the website. There's certain types of pieces that we want to get out right away. So we'll stick them on the website, and there'll be the interviews and the content provided from the KOLs is provided in a way where we want it to be timelier, and so we get it right up on the website. And then certainly, I know I agree with you. I used to, I met someone, a year or two ago that told me they learned a lot about their dog training tips through TikTok. And I'm like, I thought TikTok was only people dancing and goofing around,
Yeah.
but it is those types of, so, DPR has an Instagram page, and LinkedIn 10 years ago it seemed really kind of cold and just, really, really professional. And now it's a way where people share information and articles. And so, social media, obviously, no one needs, you don't need me to say how big it's gotten, but podcasts, we don't do as many of them at DPR as we would like to. We're trying to expand that a little bit, but one of the things we do is every week we have a little short podcast on the products from the previous week. And
okay, so I hate to sound silly, but what's the title of this for listeners?
Product Bites.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. Product Bites. I love it.
Yes. So
And BITES.
yeah. So if you go on our, yep. And so, and what happened was, so typically, and this is, I'll kind of bounce around a little bit here, but typically when a company launches a new product, but a pretty innovative, exciting one, the way we've done it forever is, it goes in DPR. If it was an extraordinary product, it might be on the cover. When I started DPR's cover, I don't want to offend anybody from 20 years ago. It was kind of ugly, but the product was just 8 new products. And with the industry, this is 25 years ago, with the industry, it was like, everyone knew, like, if you're on the cover of DPR, that was really, really cool, And then we decided to pretty up the cover a little bit. And so now there's 3 cover products and some art that looks a little sharper, But so typically there'd be a new product. We would put it in the magazine, and then we would follow up with, a period, like an interview with a clinician using the product, or else a full page just with more details, because, the blurbs would be 125 words back then, So, and then typically if it was say it's material from Ivoclar, we would work with the company, and a month or 2 later, they would give us a clinician sharing a case study. So it would be like launch a product, let everybody know a little bit about it, but now dig in deeper with more information, 3 or 4 or 5 different types of pieces throughout the year. Now I forget so now we do a lot of that with social media, and just, if there's a product in the magazine, the next week there's a slideshow with all the new products. And then also that week there's the podcast. So it kind of like, so the companies get all excited. They're like, oh, and so that, and all 3 of these things will technically take place before the next magazine comes out. So instead of getting the issue of the magazine with them, with their product launch prior to that, they're on our website once, also included in a newsletter a second time, then in the podcast, and then in the slideshow every week. So it really, so if you launch a product, and we want our audience to know about it, we've got multiple methods of getting that out there quickly.
Do you remember in 08-ish, Isolite came out, and at first I thought, that is the dumbest. That is the dumbest thing in the world. Who would be so lazy or dumb to use that product? And I just in my mind railed on that. I was just like, just put on a rubber dam. Like, how much easier can it get? And I'm trying to think of a doctor that I was working with at another office short term. He got one, and I thought, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? And because I thought, this is just, it's too easy, like, to not, like, it's just making much of
nothing. So cool, Chad. I just Googled it. How many times have I had to Google this episode?
Right. So then I try it. And I go, oh no. I love it. Yeah. I was like, oh no. I was like, this is amazing. And then I wasn't such an advocate for it. So I imagine that there's this difficulty with dental journalism of, here's the product, but then you have these know-it-alls like me who want to.
Well, you get that resistance sometimes
Yes,
where,
of course.
and part of it, now, number one, part of it is that goes back to the whole, hey, I've been using something for a lot of years and it's working really well.
Right.
I'm using a rubber dam. I'm used to doing things this way. I'm used to doing them that way.
Yes.
And then why, but I think around 2008, I was at a trade show and we had a big camera crew and we did a video at the Isolate booth and they had a big crowd and it was like, wow, this is this is a little bit different.
And then there were guys like me in the back standing against the wall,
Yeah.
and I just thought there's no way this is going to have staying power. And now for every bonding patient, save some of the maxillary anterior. I might not do it there. Case dependent if it's just something simple, but overall I use it for everyone. All my CEREC cases get the Isolate, and I'm just thinking, I explained to the patient, I'm just like, have you ever breathed on a mirror and you can see the fog? Would you want to put a piece of tape on that when it's foggy or when it's dry? And so even the atmospheric moisture from your breath is contaminating the bonding surface.
Dang.
So that's why I'm going to use this, is it holds your cheek and tongue out of the way. And then it also keeps the bacteria from your spit from getting on this tooth. And I'm such an advocate for now. I love it. And I just think it's crazy how
it makes your job easier.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in dental journalism today like that? I mean, that being just an example, but surely, you have on your side some challenges.
Yeah. If there's a product that, we believe is really worth doctors trying, then we do our best to make sure, that's when we might do, like, we have a program called like a test drive where one of our clinicians, maybe Dr. Fluke or somebody, one of our KOLs, tries out a product, shoots a video with it, and then we if it's a dud, then we're not going to push it, But
Yeah.
but I mean, if we have a video of a respected clinician using something different and new that maybe not a whole lot of clinicians are ready to give it a try, that's just a way of creating the awareness to them. We're not saying you have to do this, but look, this might very well help you and save you some time and give you better results.
Yes. Yep. Very cool.
Yeah. And then, like, we work a lot with a Catapult group, and so they'll test products as well. And so, as opposed to me, even if I've been doing this a long time, I'm not a dentist. Even if I sit at the Holiday Inn last night, I'm not gonna pretend to be one. So,
yes.
but so when we work with like these people at the Catapult group, they'll take a product and give it to 20 of their members, and they all work on it and try it out, and they give us their respected opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Very cool.
thank you, Stan and Chad. This really does highlight how much information is coming into the dental community, how much technology is being flooded, materials are being flooded, our capacity for sorting and sifting and finding out what's best for our practice can feel, I think, even though I'm not a dentist, overwhelming. And it's really, really exciting for us to announce that, Productive Dentist Academy is a learning company first and foremost. So we were founded on a workshop that we started 20 years ago, and we have our 20th anniversary conference coming up this September. And we are holding the first ever 2024 Dental Media Roundtable at this event. And Stan, you are one of our esteemed guests. We also will have Dental Town there. Dr. Bicuspid will be there. Dental Entrepreneur will be there. Dental Economics will be there. And behind the scenes, this to me is super exciting because, you don't ever really have competing, I would say, editors, and they're not, but they are, there can be a little friendly rivalry coming together, to share with dentists and team members. You'll be on main stage to talk about, what you're seeing in the industry and giving really deep insights that go beyond clickbait, beyond a press release. And I'm just really curious. Thank you, one, Stan, for being on the panel this coming September. It's going to be amazing. But two, I also know that you are staying for the entire conference. So just genuinely, why did you agree to come? And what is exciting? What is exciting to you about this? Why did you say yes?
Well, excuse me. I do love dental conferences because you can go to so many. I'm always learning something. So, and I have not been to a PDA event. So that doubly makes it good. And, so yeah, I didn't want to just sneak in hop on the round table and sneak out, I might as well be there and learn and meet some more people and hang out with you guys a little while and make the most of it.
Very cool.
All right. Well, any parting thoughts, Stan, for our listeners out there?
No, other than I'm just excited about it. I actually have a son and grandkids in Texas. Whether or not I can sneak out and hook up with them for a day or so, we'll see. But just I'm really excited about being a part of the roundtable. I had a lot of fun with this here podcast, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Good.
Well, thank you, Stan, so much for being our guest today. And we look forward to seeing you in September.
Wahoo.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.